What's up, everybody? This is Dan Thompson for AroundTheAssociation.com, and this is the Final Four podcast for the NCAA tournament, and this is my last podcast in a series of 5 going over the NCAA tournament. Now we're at the Final Four stage of the podcast. So, in the previous 4 podcasts, I broke down the entire regions from the East to the South, the Midwest, and the West region. So now we're talking about teams that are going to be in the Final Four, my Final Four. So, who do I have in the Final Four? So if you listen to the East podcast, I took Duke to win the East region. I took Gonzaga to win the West region. I took Tennessee to win the South, and I took North Carolina to win the Midwest. So if you're looking at it on paper, that's 3 number ones and number 2. I know you're going to say, well, that wasn't really hard. Well, it kind of was. The roads to the Final Four of these teams were completely different to how they got there. In Duke's case, they went through one of the harder brackets to get through the tournament. They got through Michigan State in the regional final to get to this point here. North Carolina survived a potential bloodbath against Kansas inside in Kansas City. They also survived Kentucky to get to the regional final. Tennessee took an interesting route to the Final Four. They got through their entire bracket, including beating teams, getting their way to the Final Four. And also I had Gonzaga in a bracket where they kind of didn't go through the top overall seeds to get there, but they beat a top 10 team at the end of the season in Nevada to get to this point. So let's talk about the Final Four. In matchup number 1, you have Duke versus Gonzaga, a rematch of one of the best games of the college basketball season out in Maui, the Maui Invitation between Duke and Gonzaga. That gave Gonzaga number one ranking in the country. Was a phenomenal basketball game. It was literally Duke. The difference was Duke was a bunch of younger kids at the time that hadn't really played that big game effect. I know they beat Kentucky and beat them soundly in their opening game of the season. Kentucky was still a new team trying to get things together. They were playing a Gonzaga team that had been together, that had known each other. And it was a very, very good learning experience for Duke in that game where they really had every chance to win that game, but Gonzaga's defense came down the end. Fast forward to now late March, early April, and you have Duke, who has been steamrolling teams with a healthy Zion Williamson, and with the exception of North Carolina, they've really been beating teams throughout the tournament, and they've been beating teams with Zion Williamson all year. Remember, Duke has only lost twice with Zion Williamson on the floor. That one of them was to Gonzaga. How does this game match up for both teams? It's really simple. Can Coach K figure out a way to keep Hachimura and Brandon Clark from dominating the inside? Duke's real problem has been the interior part of the game all season. Yes, Zion Williamson's there. Yes, they have Marquise Bolden. Remember, Bolden missed the entire ACC tournament due to injury. I know we're a couple weeks away from that, but Duke's depth on the front line could be a problem in this game, especially because Hachimura is a different type of player. Zion Williamson and has not played a guy against Hachimura since a guy like Hachimura. Guys like that in the ACC don't exist because, Luke May is a very good guy in the post. He's not as athletic as Hachimura is. Now, mind you, he's not the rebound machine that May is, but you kind of get my point. It's a little bit a different type of athleticism for Rui Hachimura, and Brandon Clark is just there erasing everything. Zach LaVelle Jr. knows how to get to the basket, and if you watch Duke, Jones struggles against guys that take him can take him to the rack. Guys that are physical with them and guys that have complete quickness, and Novell can do both of those things. Duke, on the other hand, well, you have 3 of the best players in college basketball on your roster. You have 4 first-round picks on your roster, and really, Marquise Bolden is a very, very solid 5th starter. Duke is not very deep, but Duke is very top-heavy. So that makes things different in this type of matchup because of the fact of when you have star players and you have multiple ones, if one doesn't do the job, somebody else can. If Zion's not scoring 30, RJ Barrett can give you 30. And I know people have been really bullish on Cam Reddish all year. No pun intended. Cam Reddish, this could be the type of game Cam Reddish thrives on. If you haven't seen how good Cam Reddish can be, go back to the Florida State game early in the season where they went into Tallahassee and beat them because Cam Reddish really just had one of his best games of his college career. In this game, I like Duke in this game to get to the championship game only because of the fact of when you have the best player in the game, that makes a big difference. I think that makes a huge difference. And RJ Barrett, they don't make the mistakes they made the first time around. It's not going to be a blowout. It's not going to be a 5-point game. It's going to come down to the final possessions. And like I said, I like Duke's ability to get final possession of RJ Barrett and Zion Williamson, because if the ball hits the rim and between Zion Williamson and Brandon Clark, as much as I love Clark interior wise, after watching Zion Williamson go over 4 Carolina defenders, it really is a sight to behold. So I think in this game you have Duke getting to the national championship game. The other part of the Final Four matchup, you have North Carolina taking on Tennessee, and what I call the Gonzaga Bowl, because both teams have beaten Gonzaga this year. Gonzaga's lost 3 games this year going into the tournament, 2 of them against these 2 teams right here. Tennessee, led by Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield, is a loaded team to play against. You have very good guard play. Tennessee is a very, very talented team across the board. This might be the most talented Tennessee team we've seen in years. I mean, I can't even remember a team this talented in Tennessee basketball history. They have a lot of different guys. Like I said, like I mentioned before, they're a team that have a bunch of guys that do a bunch of different things. They should have won the SEC tournament championship. Like I said, they just laid an egg against, they had an egg laying game against, Auburn. And that's the type of game that gets you motivated and gets you fired up to make a tournament run. That's why they're at this point now. Taking on North Carolina, a team that was peaking at the right point of the season. Yes, they lost to Duke in the ACC semifinals, but it was to a 1-point game. And really, it might be a little bit different game if Kobe White didn't slip, or if Kobe White would decide to drive to the basket. That's been Carolina's Achilles heel all year. If Kobe White, his shot is falling, or he takes too many of them. Carolina is so good defensively and so good on the perimeter. Kenny Williams is an outstanding defender. He'll be the one drawing Admiral Schofield most of the game, like he does every game, take out the team's best defender, the best offensive player from the wing. Also, at the same time, he could be doing some guarding on Jordan, the point guard for Tennessee. But Carolina is so extremely talented. Watch Nas Little off the bench in this game. Little is kind of like Marvin Williams was a couple years ago. That's how talented he is. Not to say that the Duke Carolina has for a multitude of first round picks. It's because Nas Little has the most talent on this team, but he's also the 6th man as well too, because of the role he fits. I like North Carolina's game in a very, very close one. Tennessee is going to bully North Carolina in a lot of ways. Schofield is a big boy to be 6'5", 6'5" or 6'6". That's a big boy. It's a load trying to keep him. And he's super athletic as well too. I love North Carolina's game only because of the fact that Carolina's perimeter defense can get it done, and Carolina plays at a breakneck pace. They're one of the fastest paced teams in the country, and they can score a lot of points very quickly. If Carolina does not want to play a half court game, and they play a game where they're running up and down the court, as we've seen all year, like we've all known, Carolina wins this game. They get to the championship game, and we get Duke Carolina 4. This is the game that we've all wanted to see. The first 2 games, there was no Zion Williamson. The third game was a classic. We're going to get this part. We're going to get this now for all the marbles. Carolina took the 2 regular season games. Duke took the ACC tournament championship. But the question is, who wins the national championship? When you look at this matchup for a 4th time between the 2 teams, really you have to look at two different styles of game. Carolina, the first 2 games, literally the first game, Duke was in shock because of Zion Williamson's injury, but not even a minute, maybe 2 minutes or 2 into the game, and Duke was shell shocked. Carolina win it, and they just abused Duke on the interior. Game number 2, a game that was back and forth until Kobe White took over the game in the second half. I think he scored 14 points in the second half, took over the game. Carolina pulled away late. In the third matchup, Carolina got off to the hot start because they kept running. Cam Johnson was just hitting everything in the open part of the game, and Carolina forgot to run. Duke slowed the game down, played more of their pace, allowed Zion Williamson just to get backdoor alley-oops all day long. And the other thing with the Duke was that they got Brooks in foul trouble. If they get Brooks in foul trouble again, Carolina does not exactly have enough guys to actually stop Zion. Luke May is not guarding Zion Williamson. We've learned this already. He's not fast enough. That means you're going to see a lot of Nasir Little, if Brooks gets in foul trouble, having to do the due diligence. Even though he's giving up a whole bunch of size and girth, he does have the athleticism to stay up with Williamson. It's just a catch-22. If he had May's build, Nasir is the perfect matchup for him, but he doesn't. Carolina has wing defenders. They're going to defend RJ Barrett with Kenny Williams, as we saw before. Barrett, he gets points against tougher defenders, but it takes him a little while to do it. But Barrett is so good with the basketball in his hands. He is, to me, the most NBA ready player in this class, and even more NBA ready than Zion Williamson, who is just an athletic freak of nature. The difference in this game is going to be Cam Reddish. Reddish was not very good in the game in earlier games. They need him in this game. If Cam Reddish doesn't come up any bigger in this game, this is the game he has to do it. Carolina's key, on the other hand, is Nasir Little. Like I mentioned before, he is the 6th man in the X factor. Whatever those 2 freshmen have the bigger games is going to be could be the difference maker in this game. but I think here's the difference. Kobe White learns from mistakes. In the game in Charlotte, the AC Championship game, he had his way with Duke defenders getting to the basket, splitting defenders because Jones can't guard him, and Kobe's 6'5". White can split defenders. He could use his quickness and that ability to go stop and go to get to the basket. I think he does it a lot more. He does not sell for the jump shot as much. He gets his other guys involved. And remember, Duke gets in foul trouble again. Now the difference is they'll have Bolden in this game compared to not having him. If they get the Duke interior guys in foul trouble and they have to start going to guys like Goldwire and Vrankovic again, I'm sure Kobe White will understand that putting the ball in the hands of Cam Johnson, especially in mismatch situations, is going to be the way to win. So who cuts down the nets? Give me North Carolina cutting down the nets 76-72 in Minneapolis at US Bank Stadium to win the national championship. So my national champion is North Carolina Tar Heels. They'll cut down the nets in Minneapolis. Am I right? Am I wrong? You let me know what you think. We're running a Facebook contest to pick a bracket and to see who can outpick me in the entire tournament. The rules will go up sometime Tuesday on how to win, how to enter, and everything else in between. Follow me on Twitter at Danny3 Thompson. On Twitter, follow Rally Association Facebook page, as well as the website. Subscribe to it, like, share, pass it on to everybody. Like I said, it's the best place you're going to find original content, NBA and college March Madness related. So, you know who my national champion is. You know how the teams got there, and you listen to my entire podcast sets to find out who I picked in every single game. Now it's tip time. Enjoy the NCAA tournament. It's basically the best time of year, especially the opening weekend, which starts actually Tuesday night. It really extends into Thursday. Thursday and Friday is the most fun days of the year you're going to find because basketball's on all day. Multitude of networks, and Turner does a great job, Warner Brothers now, not Turner no more. Warner Brothers does a great job of Warner does a great job of covering the tournament from back to forth. It's going to be so much fun. So, let me see who you guys pick in the tournament. Enjoy March Madness, everybody. This is Dan Thompson Association. Peace.